Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, it's John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, we're free. That's the mantra of the Inspired Livestream. I want to welcome you all on X, Rumble, and YouTube. Thank you to all our dear friends in the live chat. We will go straight into the show today. Breaking news is all Israeli civilians are in bomb shelters as rockets from Iran are fired at Israel. Explosions have been heard around Tel Aviv, and it is expected that the rockets have permeated the Iron Dome, or Iron Dome is deactivated. We don't know exactly, but that's the latest we have on that front. This is a huge escalation, massive escalation, and we'll go a little bit into that later in the show as we talk about the CATABREAK event, the shattering of reality, the hypernovelty, and the end of mass amnesia. Very, very important. Please stick around for the entire show. This is incredibly important. That's why, I've sort of got a very urgent message through to share this all. But first, let's go into updates on Hurricane Helene, the aftermath, the flooding. We found some interesting connections that we wanted to share with you yesterday. I want to share them today with you. The flooding in North Carolina has imperiled the operations of mines that produce the world's purest quartz sand, an irreplaceable ingredient for manufacturing. An irreplaceable ingredient for manufacturing components at the heart of smartphones and other electronic devices. The town of Spruce Pine, North Carolina, where these unique minerals or mines are located, remains in a dire status with power, water, and cell service largely disconnected early Tuesday. While the floodwaters brought on by Hurricane Helene have receded, local residents said many roads remained impassable, actually fully destroyed. Both major mine operations in Spruce Pine, Sibelco, and the Quartz Company, or Sibelco and Quartz Corporation, I'm not sure, said they halted operations Thursday, the day before the center of the storm passed over western North Carolina, and did not yet know when work could resume. So this is very important. And here's the connection. Okay, so these are some of the purest quartz that they produce there, and that are used heavily in the semiconductor production. Okay, so there aren't a lot of companies in the world that can provide this kind of quartz. And so currently both mines and the transportation routes are shut down. Okay, so that's domino one. Remember this part. Domino two, today the port strike around the eastern seaboard, the port strike goes into effect. So that means that the quartz, let's just talk about the quartz here. The quartz that is already ready for shipment around the world will not be shipped as the ports are on strike. I'll give you a number of dominoes and coincidences, and you'll say this is impossible, because it is impossible. So this quartz is used in semiconductors and solar panels, by the way, which Elon Musk a few hours tweeted something big about solar panels. Here's the next coincidence in this entire game. Taiwan today will close its $2.5 trillion stock market as Super Typhoon Krathon approaches the island with strong winds and heavy rain. Now listen to this. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, the biggest producer of semiconductors in the world, that's needed for all electronics, has activated routine typhoon alert preparation procedures at all its fabs and construction sites in the island, according to an emailed statement from the company. Now, this is according to Bloomberg. By the way, this is the only company that was mentioned by name by the media with regards to this typhoon. So, how's this connected? Listen to this here. The Taiwan Semiconductor Corporation relies heavily on materials provided by Sibelco and the Quartz Corporation in North Carolina, which are currently not working, not operational, and the roads are gone. Both of these companies are major suppliers of high purity quartz, which is crucial for the semiconductor manufacturing process. Specifically, TSMC uses quartz crucibles made from this high purity quartz during the production of silicon wafers, a critical component in semiconductor chips. Now, I'm not a tech guy, so I might be butchering some of these terms. The Spruce Pine region in North Carolina, where Sibelco and the Quartz Corporation operate, is renowned for having the world's highest quality quartz, making it a pivotal supplier for the entire semiconductor industry. A disruption in the supply chain, such as from natural disasters like hurricanes, could significantly impact semiconductor production globally, including for companies like TSMC. So here you have the trifecta. You have the two raw material companies, the mines shut down, transportation shut down because of the flooding and the destroyed roads. And if you've ever been in a region, there's not many roads in and out of that. Then you have the port strikes in the eastern seaboard of the United States, which means nothing is coming in or out. And then you have the typhoon at the same time hitting Taiwan, where the biggest semiconductor production facility in the world is located, which relies on these materials. You tell me that this is a coincidence. At what point, not to pull out an old Q statement here, but at what point is it mathematically impossible? I would say we're pretty much at that point. So I also wanted to share that I received an update from Barnardsville, North Carolina, that's just out of Asheville, from our friend Johnny Junko. And he wrote a text today, thankfully. He said, alive and well, minimal service, no power, massive casualties. Expectation of a month without power in our area. Many houses and bridges completely washed away. Trucks on top of two-story houses. Bad out of here. Bad out of here. Communities rallying in Barnardsville. We had a volunteer medic and search and rescue team. They can't really get in and out. The voluntary search and rescue team is comprised of the people there. We are hearing from multiple sides that first responders have stand down orders. Helicopter services stand down orders. Private people with helicopters who wanted to help in the region, who were willing to send their choppers out there and provide stand down orders. Now, who is giving those stand down orders? We heard the same thing from Lahaina. Remember, they turned off the water. They had stand down orders. The Lahaina police chief, coincidentally, is the same police chief who was in charge at the Las Vegas shooting, big operation there. Stand down orders. No one was allowed in with supplies. Hurricane, what was it called in Acapulco? Was that Ian? Stand down orders until they basically exposed the government and they finally allowed supplies in. So these are patterns that are constantly repeating, which, by the way, is a part of the CATABREAK event that I want to talk about today. So for that, we have to understand how any organism functions. And I want to tell you how humans function. So if you work with humans one-on-one, especially in counseling, anything psychology, consciousness related, you will find that humans have a breaking point. When that happens, people call this a psychotic breakdown. What that happens is that basically almost all functions shut down in the brain. People really can't, a lot of them can't do the basic things like, provide for their basic needs when they shut down. How does that happen? It is an overwhelmment of the system. The system does not see a path forward. It does not matter for the system whether that is based in fact or based in perception. That is really important. Most psychotic breakdowns are actually based in perception only and not facts. What do I mean by that? Well, there are people in dire situations where no matter how much they try, they can't really find a way out. Physically speaking of a situation, they're in captivity, they've been kidnapped or whatever. There are situations where you have that. But most people that have a psychotic breakdown are in a perceptual state of hopelessness, which means that they've received so much information into their system that tells them there is no way out, there's nothing you can do. Whether that is based in fact or not does not matter. At some point, the system breaks down, shuts down, and it is incapable of doing anything. That is a nervous breakdown or a psychotic breakdown. There is always a CATABREAK event, and CATABREAK is sort of a combination of two words: catalyst, right, which is an event that triggers something, and then you have the breakdown or the breaking apart, which is the second part of that word. Now, the catalyst event, people put too much importance on the catalyst event. The catalyst event is usually just the last drop in the bucket. It doesn't mean that that event has to be huge. It doesn't mean that that event has to be the big one. It's just the last one in the chain of events. So when we talk about this current situation, and what we're doing, what Christine and I are doing constantly, is we are observing patterns and systems, not just situations and unique events. You have to look at the bigger patterns. The bigger patterns is we are having a situation of hyper news and hyper information. Most people are plugged into the social media world. They're plugged into the 24-hour news cycle. And what they see, whether they look at it or not, is a bombardment of information which literally attacks their system. It does not matter. It does not matter how much of that information is factual or how much is only perceptual, because the viewer, the reader, the listener perceives everything as real. Some of these events are not real, exaggerated, altered, changed, whatever, but the perception remains. And what is the perception? Day in, day out, massive world impacting events. You have shutdowns, you have power outages nationwide, service outages nationwide. You have corruption cases that are so huge that people don't even know what to do with that. You have massive events, explosions, facilities, food plants. You have just in the last few days, we've had some massive events in the United States. And then you have these cultural and technological constant pushes on humanity, which we could call hypernovelty. Let's look a little bit at what that even means, hypernovelty, okay? Some have heard this term. I know Cliff High uses it a lot. Hypernovelty refers to the accelerated pace of change and innovation in modern society, driven largely by technological advancements and globalization. It describes a state where the rate at which new development and ideas emerge is faster than our individual and collective ability to process, adapt, or regulate them. This is important because we have to here acknowledge, for hypernovelty to exist, and it does exist, there has to be a driving force. Now, the definition of hypernovelty says that for individuals, this is hard to grasp, and even for whole sections of society, it's hard to grasp what's happening. So what is the driving force? The driving force behind all this hypernovelty is a minuscule minority in the, 0.1% range. So they're nothing compared to the population, but they're driving this every single day for a reason. Technological acceleration, constant disruptive innovation such as AI, the internet, and biotechnology are changing the way we live, work, and interact. The rapid adoption of new ideas, trends, and social norms can create a sense of disorientation or overwhelmment as people try to adjust. Hypernovelty can lead to future shock, a term coined by futurist Alvin Toffler, where individuals and society struggle to cope with the overwhelming speed of change. So this is where we're at. This is exactly where we're at, the overwhelming speed of change. But we have to take a step back and realize that there is a strategy at work here. We're living through a mass depop event. It started long ago, but this phase was initiated in 2020, 2021. Mass depop, which means that millions and hundreds of millions of people are leaving here too soon, before their time, if you will, and due to unnatural triggers. So we're seeing that play out, which is a shock for almost every family on Earth. Aside from African countries have their own problems, not these specifically, but most places in the world are living through that. So you have this going on constantly, every day, all day, shocks to families and systems. You have this hyper news and information cycle, which bombards the population with constant threats. Iran and Israel bombing each other is not a small thing. This is massive World War III escalation. Ukraine-Russia situation, the NATO preparation for mass casualty events, the United States Congress preparation for mass casualty events and continuation of government in such events. All of these things are happening simultaneously. The talk of World War III, this is constant shock for the systems on purpose. What they want is a breakdown, not just of the human psyche, but a breakdown of society as we know it. And they will get that. They will get that. But there's a whole other side to this. So please stick around because it's important. They will get their breakdown. We will see what these people in Barnardsville are experiencing on a massive scale. Because the system, the collective societal system has a consciousness as well, not just individuals. So, and this collective societal system can only take so much before it breaks down, just like the individual has a psychotic or nervous breakdown. This system will soon experience the tipping point, the CATABREAK event. I can tell you this, there's enough data to support what I'm saying, but I can tell you this is coming on a deep intuitive level of observation. I've never, ever seen these massive events, especially if you look internationally, what is happening in Asian countries, what is happening in European countries, what is happening all over the place. There's too much pressure on the system. You could say that is horrible. I understand that perspective. On the highest level, I welcome it, and we were a part of creating this momentum. Whether you want to hear that or not, you were a part of creating this momentum, because this is the only way how the truth can truly reveal itself fully. We see the truth in the weaponry, the mass weaponry, the MK weaponry used against the people all over the place for a very long time. Mass amnesia, what does that mean? It means that these weapons were used against us for so long, these tactics, this anti-human way of life was used against us for so long that most people have forgotten who they truly are, which is a divine expression of divine consciousness. That's who you are. That's your spark. That's the mass amnesia. The shattering of this reality that we are in, we're this close of, when the glass breaks. Sometimes have you ever watched a glass break? It starts with this small dot, and then you see it goes like a cobweb. It goes out, and then eventually, when the pressure is too high, the whole thing shatters. The glass is broken. The cobweb is there. We are simply 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 pressure points away from this entire thing shattering. When it shatters, there will be a mass psychosis of the NPCs, if you will, the masses. They will have a mass psychosis. That's one side of the story. But everything in this reality and beyond has an opposite expression, and that's what's so important. People are now open and willing to learn about all the negative sound weapons that are being projected at humanity. You will probably remember the Havana syndrome, where in the U.S. Embassy in Havana, they had these sickness events where everybody got sick at the same time, and they figured out it was a sound weapon. So that's kind of what introduced a lot of people to the sound weapons that have been around for a very long time. But what does that mean? Whenever there's a frequency that can harm you, there's another frequency that can heal you and make you whole. So there is sound healing. That's the discovery that we're having in all of this. When we see that there are rays, like laser rays, direct energy weapons that can cause a lot of damage and harm, we need to acknowledge that there are positive frequency rays also that can heal the harm. Where are these rays located? That's the most beautiful thing. They're not located in space. They're not located in some artificial technology somewhere outside of us. They're located right here inside of us. We have healing rays that we can activate. So we have to acknowledge, because here's the thing. If you get caught up in the drama of this CATABREAK period that we're in, and in these horrific events that are going to go on, continually go on until we get through this, and we will, you lose your power. And this is so important. We have to not just remain in our power, we have to expand it. We have to realize that is what we can do through this. You can't stop this mass exiting point of a lot of people. A lot of people that you knew, that you know, that you might have called your friends and even family are leaving. That's the time that we're in. What is important is for divine spark, for that divine expression of consciousness to become fully activated through this, fully activated. This is the only solution. Okay, this is the only solution. But society as we know it, the systems as we know them, are going through a breakdown. What they will try to do, that's their move. That's the opponent's move, is after a period of extreme suffering of the masses and what remains of them, they will introduce hyper novelty, which means that whatever technological acceleration you think we had until now, it will pale in comparison to what they're going to introduce to the people. And they're going to provide all these technological solutions almost in an instant. It's going to overwhelm people, but it's going to provide them security, comfort, safety. None of it is real, but that's what they're going to play it. Thank you very much for your contribution. Really appreciate it, Regina. So this is what they're going to do. Human consciousness can exponentially heal all of this. And it's also the only thing that can. But here's what I have noticed. Recently, I have examined my own journey. I have talked to others and read about their stories of awakening. Here's how it always works. The first stage in awakening is usually some outside event. Sometimes it's a spiritual inner event, but usually it's some outside event that makes you question reality or what you've been taught. For a lot of people, it was 9/11 and other things that just, they didn't sit right. And the world never looked the same again. So then that's the first step. That is usually followed a few months after by exploration of spirituality. People are looking for a greater sense in things. Then they go deep into that, right? So studying everything that they thought was hidden from them in spiritual terms, the true nature of who they are, divine consciousness, unconditional love, the creator being, all of that. Because that's where the solutions are. But then, and this is what happens to so many people, and it's a good thing, then they go, my goodness, this is so easy to understand. Unconditional love. We are divinely created. We are divine consciousness. What is the problem? Well, there you go. And then the exploration of greater truth begins. What is and was and has been standing in the way of that? And that's where you go and actually explore the true nature of this reality. What power has been ruling it, and how? And then you finally integrate that spirit, that true spirituality. You integrate it with the truth, and you become a truly powerful being who is not naive, who's not like a child, but who is actually mature and adult in your expression. That's where people stand now. That's where millions of people stand right now. the integration period. And it is so necessary that people do it, that they practice that every day, because and I I don't know how else to say it. I'm getting this over and over again. I'm getting two things over and over again. Two things that I'm guided to remind all of us of constantly. I sound like a broken record, but hell, the first thing is there are massive, massive, unbelievable changes underway, and the systems are breaking down. And how that's going to look is catastrophic to a lot of people. That's how it's going to look. The second thing that I'm constantly guided to share with you is that I see our community. And when I say our community, it's not just the Inspired Tribe, but the greater community of truth and freedom seekers, people who really go within, people who are willing to accept who they truly are and the truth for what it is. They will actually thrive through this. And here's what I didn't read to you earlier, okay, by my friend Johnny Junko. So this is perhaps what you needed to hear. So I told you, he is in the region. Let me pull this up again for you. He is in a region where everything, the dam was probably destroyed on purpose. So houses gone, towns gone, roads gone, mass casualties. But listen to the words. I couldn't believe when I read the words. He says, um, they've been organizing, they are smoking, canning, and salting hundreds of pounds of meat. They're making sure they got food. But here's what he said: we are thriving out here. We are thriving out here. This is true divine consciousness and expression, despite, and he's in the center of it, my friends. He's in the center of the madness and the flooding and the casualties. But yet he puts in this one message that he sends out to us, he puts, we are thriving out here. And this is what I've been given over and over again over the last months. I've been sharing it a lot on locals. I see our community thrive through this. I see them in a state of almost, in an elated state, almost in an ecstasy state of true expression and full activation of who they are. I see you all thriving beyond anything you've ever experienced. But the caveat is you have to make that choice. You can either choose to see yourself as a victim of these psychopaths, or you can see yourself as something much greater than they could ever hope to be. And for that, you have to make a choice. You have to literally choose to be this here, my friends. This. Choose to be a truly free spirit. This, by the way, from Christine's new collection, Christine's World. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you for the support and orders. Love it so much. Links in the description. This is it. And this is what we're going to continually talk about. These are the two things. The shadow is what we're seeing in the world today. And it, to a certain degree, reflects our own old shadows that we weren't willing to acknowledge that have been there. We all carry shadows in us. That work is important. But now is the time. Now is the time for divine spark to recognize itself fully. No more playing it small. No more being a victim. And for those who think that they are a victim of their circumstances and that there's nothing that they can do to change their life, listen, you are literally building your own prison. I'm sorry to say that, but it's not true. You're lying to yourself. You've been taught to lie that way to yourself. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are truly a powerful and mighty creator, as our friend Daniel Brinkley says, a powerful, mighty creator. Now is the time to step into it. I anticipate a time, and this might be sooner rather than later, I don't know when. I anticipate a time where we won't be able to communicate with each other. I anticipate a time where we won't be visible to you here in this way for a while. I see it coming. I don't know when, but I see it coming. Please know you have everything that you could possibly need inside of you. You have something called intuition, a guidance system. Allow it to guide you. We're going to get through this. And there's something on the other side that we might not have been able to fully imagine yet. Okay? But for too long, we've been naive to the truths that are all around us. And naivete is what gets most people killed. You can't be naive. When evil shows itself to you, better believe it. Know that you are much, 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 much more than evil could ever be. And that is the way how to combat that evil. But you have to know that. You can't be naive about that. And people have been naive and they say, I just don't want to focus on that. And I don't want to focus on that bullshit. It's all bullshit. Those were all things, those were instigated practices to teach people to become passive, inactive, and ultimately then be a victim of their own passivity. So let's become full adults here and express ourselves to the fullest of our potential. And what's the easiest excuse killer? Do what you can with what you have where you are. Everybody can do something. Do what you can with what you have where you are to become the best possible version of yourself. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. If you become a member in our Inspired Community and Locals for 19 cents a day, that is supporting our team and supporting our work. If you love these messages and these things that Christine creates so beautifully, like this shirt here, oh my God, I got to figure out how to move my hand here in reverse. And that supports our work. And we, in turn, do our best to support all of you and beyond to the best of our abilities every day. So thank you so much for that. And if you haven't yet, yes? Yeah. Oh, I wanted you to know this. And I think I said it yesterday, or I might have said it on Locals. It's very, very important. For those of you who are on the FLFE subscription or who are doing their FLFE free trial, links in the video description. We recently had a meeting with the team. We always have meetings with the FLFE teams. And they told us that they have secured the systems. So if there's a power outage, if you have no cell service, if you have no internet, FLFE will still work for you. If they have a power outage, they have made the system so secure and resilient. They have backup and backup. So pretty much under almost all imaginable circumstances, FLFE will still work for you, even if you have no power, no internet, no nothing. And that is very, very important. All right, my friends, thank you so much. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will be back with you again very, very soon. And right now, you could be only a few clicks away from experiencing something amazing, something that has changed thousands of lives all over the world. I'm talking about a high consciousness field similar to those at pilgrimage sites and sacred places. It's where people go to heal, to connect, and to become the best possible version of themselves. With FLFE, you can bring such a high consciousness field into your home right now. It's a spiritual quantum technology based on the work of Nikola Tesla. Better sleep, more energy, greater well-being, improved finances, electrosmog mitigation. These are only some of the things people on the FLFE service are experiencing. Try it now for 15 days completely free of charge, no credit card needed. Just click on a link down below to start your free, no strings attached FLFE trial right now.